Have you ever noticed? The person who speaks the least often commands the most respect. They don't seek attention, they attract it. And by the time you realize it, they've already taken control. In a world where everyone is yelling to be heard, the real power belongs to the one who remains silent, still calculating. They're not reacting, they're watching. Power doesn't always make an entrance. Sometimes it walks in quietly, says nothing, and yet changes the entire room in every setting. There's someone who holds the real power, but it's never who you expect. It's not the loudest voice or the one demanding attention. It's the one who says little, yet somehow commands the space. They don't need to prove themselves, because their presence alone shifts. The energy power doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It moves in silence, calm, aware, deliberate. It observes without reacting, and by the time others realize who truly held the upper hand, it's already too late. In this noisy world, where shouting is mistaken for strength, the most dominant force is restraint, the power of silence, the timing of a single glance, the discipline to stay emotionally distant when others lose control. The true strategist doesn't engage in chaos. He watches, he waits, he lets others unravel themselves. This isn't manipulation, it's self-mastery. It's the art of outmaneuvering your environment, not with conflict, but with absolute command over your own emotions. In this video, you're going to uncover 7 unshakable rules of dominance, forged in Stoic philosophy, sharpened into psychological strategy. These are not rules for war. They're rules for winning without lifting a finger. Here's why the calmest person in the room so often ends up in charge. Because when emotions erupt and chaos reigns, the one who stays grounded becomes the anchor, the gravitational center. People don't follow this person out of fear, but out of respect, out of curiosity, out of something deeper. Or, calmness is not weakness. It's the ultimate show of strength, control over your nervous system, clarity under pressure, power through presence. In a world addicted to noise and drama, calm becomes your most lethal weapon. But most people, they never learn this. They lose before the game even begins, and they don't even realize it. Why? Because they react. They enter conversations already on edge. One passive-aggressive jab, they explode. A tiny insult, they're triggered. But they're not controlling the moment. They're being controlled by it. This is what Epictetus warned us about. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. If someone can trigger your anger with just a sentence, then you're not in control. You're being programmed. And the people who want to manipulate you, they're testing for those emotional buttons. They're watching. How fast do you defend yourself? How easily do you get offended? Does your face change when they mention something you're insecure about? Every reaction reveals something about you. Every flinch gives away a part of your strategy. And soon, you're playing with your cards, exposed while they remain unreadable. Let's be real, calm is not natural. You weren't born with it. It's trained, built slowly, deliberately, through discomfort and discipline. You don't become calm in moments of pressure by accident. You rehearse it. You practice mental detachment. You learn to breathe through tension. You visualize the storm before it comes, and you decide in advance who you will be when it arrives. Because that version of you, calm, focused, unshaken, that's the version that wins. That's the version who sees clearly, who reads the room, who never gives away power. That version is forged in silence. Calm isn't passive. It's not indifference. It's not weakness. It's strategy. The stillness you build becomes a lens, sharpening your perception while others blur theirs in emotional storms. But here's the catch. Many people will misunderstand your calm. They'll mistake it for apathy. They'll assume you don't care, or that you're too afraid to speak up. They'll judge your silence on social media, your refusal to clap back, your ability to listen without interrupting. Let them. That illusion becomes your camouflage. Stillness is a weapon. Silence is pressure. When used with discipline, they create tension, the kind that unsettles insecure minds. Because when you don't react, people can't read you. They don't know what you think. They don't know how much you know, and what people can't read, they fear. That's where your power begins. In arguments, in relationships, in negotiations, in every high-stakes moment, the person who controls their tone, their timing, and their tension controls everything. Here's a real-world example. Picture a boardroom. Two executives are pitching for a massive partnership deal. One of them is loud, animated, almost theatrical. He's full of jokes, energy, trying to sell with intensity. He's talking fast, pushing hard, overflowing with enthusiasm. The other, still calm, watching, he barely speaks, only two. Ask precise, strategic questions. His energy is quiet but undeniable. 10 minutes in, the loud one starts to unravel. He begins rambling, overselling, tripping over his own momentum. And then, the calm one leans forward slightly and says just one line. You've given me a lot of enthusiasm, but very little data. Silence. That one sentence ends the entire exchange. The room shifts. The deal is decided. That's what real calm power looks like. It doesn't need to yell. It doesn't chase attention. It watches. And when the moment is right, it strikes. With precision. So how do you build that kind of control? You train it every single day. These are the rituals of Stoic calm. Not motivational fluff, but habits that sharpen your emotional edge. 1. Morning silence. Don't touch your phone for the first 30 minutes after waking up. Sit with your mind. Let it breathe. The world can wait. Learn to listen to your thoughts before reacting to the world's noise. 2. The pause rule. Whenever someone says something, triggering pause. Count 3 seconds before you say anything. Or better yet, say nothing at all. Let your silence speak for you. 3. Nightly reflection. Each night, journal with purpose. Ask yourself, when did I lose my calm today? What triggered it? Write it down. Name it. Study it. When you understand your triggers, they lose their grip. Point 4. Cold exposure. Yes, cold showers or ice baths. Not for TikTok clout, but for nervous system training. Learn to stay calm while your body screams. Control in chaos is built through discomfort. 5. Controlled breathing. Practice the box method. Inhale for seconds, hold for seconds, exhale for seconds, hold for seconds. This simple breathwork resets your mental state under pressure. Do it enough, and it becomes reflex. These rituals aren't about appearing strong. They're about being strong from the inside out. Because when you train for calm, you outsmart emotional traps. You shape the tempo of every conversation. While others waste energy trying to dominate through noise, you dominate through presence. You don't need to raise your voice when your aura already fills the room. And here's the truth. Calm is rare, and anything rare becomes valuable. So train to become the still eye of the storm. Let the chaos spin around you, never within you. Because the one who remains calm doesn't just survive the battle, he owns the battlefield. If you truly want to outsmart someone, don't confront them, observe them. Let them speak first. Let them reveal who they are, their mindset, their fears, their blind spots, all while you remain unreadable. Because in every game, whether it's business, power, love, or leadership, the first person to speak reveals their hand. And once you know what they're holding, you're already steps ahead. This is the ancient art of strategic listening. The Stoics mastered it long before modern psychology gave it a name. As the old saying goes, better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. But this isn't just about staying silent. It's about listening with intent. Listening not just to reply, but to understand, to see what's hidden beneath the words. Because that is where real power begins. Don't listen just to respond. Listen to extract. When someone starts talking, they're unconsciously telling you what really matters to them, what they're hiding, what they hope you won't notice. Most people can't help it. They constantly leak clues through their tone, rhythm, and word choice. And when you're calm, focused, and unreactive, you catch everything. You learn more by saying less. While they keep talking, you're gathering intelligence. They're unknowingly exposing their own strategy. That's psychological warfare, disguised as humility. Let their insecurity speak for them. Here's the paradox. People are driven to impress those they subconsciously feel are above them. So when you carry yourself with quiet confidence, not arrogance, but real inner strength, people will begin to talk more. They'll try to prove themselves to you. They'll overshare. They'll overcompensate. They'll explain too much, revealing their plans, their motives, and their weaknesses. And the best part, they won't even realize they're doing it. You're not interrogating them. You're just letting silence do the heavy lifting. Insecure people fear silence. They rush to fill it with words, and those words betray them. Picture this, you're negotiating a deal, but instead of jumping in with an offer, you calmly say, "Tell me what you're looking for." Then, you just listen. In an effort to sound confident, they'll talk too much, and in doing so, they'll reveal their true priorities. You'll hear what they're afraid to lose. You'll catch the concessions they're hesitant to make. They might even say what kind of deal they don't want, and that gives you your target. Now you understand the terrain. While they know almost nothing about you, that's not luck, that's leverage. And leverage always favors the patient. Use questions as soft weapons. A well-timed question can be more powerful than a direct accusation. Why? Because questions don't trigger defenses. They invite exposure. Try these. What makes you say that? Why do you think that's important? How did you come to that conclusion? These aren't attacks, they're mirrors. And most people aren't ready to see themselves clearly. If someone's lying, manipulating, or hiding something, calm, innocent questions make them trip over their own story. They contradict themselves, they stammer, they ramble, and all the while, you're just sitting there, watching practice the Stoic poker face. None of this works if your face gives everything away. If your eyebrows jump every time you're surprised. If your tone shifts when someone offends you. If your posture tightens when a topic hits your ego. You've already lost your edge, so train your neutrality. In conversation, keep your jaw relaxed. Let silence be your strength. Respond slowly, intentionally, like someone who has nothing to prove. This isn't fake, it's self-mastery, the strategic power of I don't know. One of the most underrated tools in psychological dominance is this phrase, "I don't know." What do you think? It makes others drop their guard. They think you're not a threat, so they keep talking and revealing, but meanwhile, you're in complete control. Your power is hidden, and that's exactly where it should stay. The biggest mistake you can make when you start feeling confident is showing it. Too soon, you'll feel the urge to correct people, to prove your knowledge, to win little arguments, but that only reveals your level. You want them wondering, what is he really thinking? Why isn't she reacting? Is he seeing something I'm not? That uncertainty, it creates tension. It demands respect. And that is how you dominate without ever raising your voice. Final message of page 3. In a world addicted to being heard, be the one who listens. Let others fall in love with their own voice, while you fall in love with information, because when the time comes to strike, you won't need noise. You'll already know exactly where to hit and how hard. You can't outfight someone who already knows your every move, but you can outmaneuver someone who's too eager to reveal theirs. That's how the quiet win. That's how the calm conquer. That's how the wise dominate. Because true power never needs to announce itself. It doesn't shout to be seen. It doesn't beg for validation. It doesn't prove anything to anyone. It simply is steady, silent, and undeniable. The most powerful leaders in history didn't lead with commands. They led with presence. They didn't need to say, "Follow me." People just followed. And that is your next advantage. The ability to shape outcomes without forcing them. To influence minds without demanding credit. To lead without ever revealing your full hand. Influence is far stronger than control. Control is what insecure people chase. They micromanage. They dominate with volume. They try to own people, treat every interaction like a battlefield. But what does that? Create resistance, rebellion, fragile loyalty. Now contrast that with real power. The powerful don't control. They influence. They don't issue orders. They inspire direction. They don't bark commands. They plant ideas. They don't dictate. They suggest. They don't perform. They listen. That's psychological leadership. And it's far more effective than brute force will ever be. Be the invisible hand that moves the entire room. When someone with presence walks in, the room shifts. People sit up a little straighter. They adjust their tone. They speak more carefully, not out of fear, but because something about your energy makes them pay attention. This is quiet dominance in action. You don't need to steal the spotlight. You command respect without asking for it. How? Your posture radiates calm composure. Your eye contact is steady, not aggressive. Your words are slow, intentional, even surgical in precision. And this isn't about pretending to be stoic. This is about embodying a mindset so anchored, so unmoved, that petty disturbances can't even touch you. You've got nothing to prove, and that quiet certainty is magnetic. People begin following your lead without even realizing they're doing it. Now here's a powerful tool. Plant ideas. Let them think it's theirs. This is one of the most advanced and subtle strategies in human interaction. It's the art of influence without ego. It takes patience, it takes finesse, but it's far more powerful than any argument you'll ever win. You don't say, "Do it my way." You ask, "Have you considered this angle?" You don't say, "My idea is better." You simply suggest, "What would happen if we tried something different?" Let their ego breathe. Let them own the conclusion. Because, in the end, if the result serves your purpose, does it really matter who gets the credit? That's how empires are built, not with shouting, but with subtle framing. Control the frame, not the fight. Smart people argue about facts. Wiser people control the context. Let me show you why. If someone tries to debate you and you respond by proving you're right, you've already entered their frame. You're playing their game. But when you shift the context, you shift the power, control. The premise, not the details. Example, someone criticizes your idea. Instead of defending it, you respond. That's an interesting perspective. But I'm more focused on long-term impact than immediate results. Boom. Now the conversation's on your terms. They came looking for a fight. You redirected the energy with grace and clarity. That's leadership without force. That's power without friction. Detach from the outcome, guide the flow. And here is where Stoicism shines. You don't need to win. You simply prefer to. That's a huge difference. When you're emotionally detached from the outcome, you keep your psychological edge. You're not shaken. You're not reactive. You're in control. Because while others are obsessed with forcing a result, you're focused on shaping the flow. The battlefield bends to those who aren't desperate to win it. And that's where true dominance begins. You're not desperate to convince anyone. You're not afraid to walk away. And you're not shaken if your idea is dismissed, because deep down, you know, if it's truly strong, it will return. This kind of mental freedom gives you an invisible advantage. It grants you the flexibility to move through any social, political, or emotional situation with clarity and composure. You don't force, you flow. You don't grab, you guide. While others waste energy trying to win short-term battles. Chasing instant validation, you protect your energy. You invest your time. You play the long game and you win when they're too exhausted to keep going. Power, the Marcus Aurelius strategy. Marcus Aurelius didn't bark orders. He didn't manipulate through fear. He led with logic, with dignity, and by example. When his generals failed, he didn't humiliate them. He asked questions. He listened. He adapted because he knew that true leadership never needs to flex. Results speak louder than ego ever could. Apply that today. If someone challenges, you don't react. Ask for their perspective. Let them speak fully. Thank them for their honesty then. Shift the direction of the conversation, gently but with purpose, because once emotion settles, reason rises to take control. And when reason leads, you win quietly, decisively. Final reflection. Those who always feel the need to prove they're right have already lost. But those who guide with quiet clarity and presence, they own the room. They earn the respect. They control the outcome. Remember, the most dangerous piece on the chessboard isn't the one that moves the fastest. It's the one no one saw coming. Be that piece. Lead in silence. Influence with strategy. And outmaneuver anyone without ever needing to show your hand. Why do empires fall? Because they were built on speed, not depth. On ego, not endurance. And why do legends last? Because they were forged through patience, built with clarity, and strengthened in storms. That's how the wise outsmart the world. They don't chase the now. They play by decades, while most people are addicted to the now. Look around. Everyone's in a rush to get rich, to get noticed, to win today. But what happens? They burn out. They chase noise. They trade long-term greatness for short-term dopamine hits. It's like trying to win at chess by only thinking one move ahead. You might capture a piece, but you'll lose the entire board. The Stoic advantage: think in decades, not days. The Stoics taught one of the most strategic truths ever spoken. Don't aim to appear wise, aim to become wise. Epictetus: you don't need to impress anyone right now. You need to become someone undeniable later. That means skipping easy applause, enduring the boring disciplines, building in silence while others broadcast. Every tiny milestone, because the rewards of the long game are exponential. When others are exhausted from sprinting, you're still walking, calm, precise, unstoppable. A real-world example: the quick win trap. Let's say you're in a heated debate. Your opponent throws a petty jab at you. You could fire back with a clever insult. Sure, the crowd might laugh. Your ego might get a quick boost. But you've lost something bigger, because now you've turned the conversation into a matter of pride instead of principle. The long game move. You pause, you smile, and you say nothing. That silence, that restraint echoes louder than any comeback ever could. You didn't just win the moment. You won the frame. You showed yourself to be the higher presence, the one who doesn't need to bite back because you're not threatened. That's the kind of victory people remember. Long after the noise fades, the compound effect of strategic silence. Think of every decision you make like a drop of water. Each drop may seem insignificant at first, but over time they form oceans. That's the power of delayed gratification, and it terrifies those addicted to instant fixes while they chase claps. You're investing in skills. You're sharpening your mind. You're mastering your emotions. You're saving your energy, because while they seek attention, you're building leverage. While they chase followers, you're building true influence. While they're obsessed with revenge, you're cultivating inner peace. And in the end, it's never the loudest who survives, but the one who can wait without crumbling. Because when you master patience, you master power. Most people are slaves to impulse. They speak the first thought that enters their mind. They respond to every provocation. They leap at every opportunity, even if it's a dead end. But you're built different. You wait. You listen longer than anyone expects. You observe with a patience they can't handle. You prepare more than they believe is necessary. And when you finally act, it's decisive, it's final, it's dominant. Because you weren't reacting. You were calculating. Even Marcus Aurelius played the long game. The most powerful man in Rome once wrote in his private journal, "If a cucumber is bitter, throw it away. If there are brambles in your path, go around them. That is enough. Don't demand the world conform to your expectations." Translation: don't let temporary discomfort throw you off course. The Stoic leader understands. Life is long. Ego is impatient. Choose life. That's the mindset of someone who isn't chasing likes, but building a legacy. Winning in silence while others burn out loudly. People will mock your discipline. They'll call you boring, too serious, too calm. But while they're distracted, you're compounding in knowledge, in strength, in emotional control. And when the time comes to strike, you don't need noise. You don't need attention. You just act. And by the time they notice, it's already too late to catch up. That's the cruel poetry of the long game. The same ones who laughed at your patience will one day beg for your guidance. Final thought, short-term. Thinkers, they obsess over winning the room. Long-term thinkers, they build the entire building. So don't trade depth for speed. Don't trade endurance for ego. Don't sacrifice clarity for applause. Because the one who plays the long game doesn't need to rush. They influence without pressure. They dominate without trying. Let them chase the moment. You're chasing mastery. True power doesn't come from aggression. It comes from composure, from being the calmest person in the room while everyone else is busy reacting, collapsing, unraveling. The truth is harsh but clear. The one who controls their emotions controls the environment. In business, in relationships, in conflict, in life. The most powerful player is never the loudest. It's the one who doesn't flinch. The one whose silence makes the whole room nervous. The one whose calmness disturbs those who can't find their own. Emotion, your greatest ally or your greatest weakness. You are not your emotions. But if you don't master them, they'll own you. When someone offends you, the instinct is to bite back. When you're afraid, your mind screams to escape. When you're hurt, your ego demands validation, and that is the trap. The moment you react without thinking, you've given them control of your mind. You've handed over the remote to your inner peace, and that's how most people lose, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack emotional discipline. The narcissist's playground. Your emotional triggers. Let's break it down. Manipulators, narcissists, toxic people. They thrive on emotional reactivity. They poke, they prod, they test your buttons, search for cracks in your self-control. They serve you half-truths designed to provoke outrage. Why? Because every emotional reaction you give them is leverage. Every time you flinch, argue, explain too much, defend too quickly, you give them power, and they use it. The more predictable your emotional reactions are, the easier it is for others to control your decisions. They don't need to be smarter than you. They just need you to self-destruct. That's why the moment you become unshakable, they lose the game completely. The Stoic response: observe, don't absorb. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." That's what Stoic clarity looks like. You don't have to absorb every insult. You don't have to internalize every rude tone or petty jab. You don't have to engage every emotional storm. You observe it, you label it, then you let it pass. You train your mind to respond, not react. Because when you react, they control you. But when you respond, you are in control. Example, the power of a paused mind. Picture this: you're in a tense meeting. Someone challenges your idea in front of the whole team. You feel your chest tighten. You're ready to snap. But here's the difference between an average person and someone who has mastered emotional discipline. The average person fires back. They raise their voice, argue defensively, react emotionally. But the strategist, they pause, they breathe, they speak slowly, with calm authority, not to suppress anger, but to signal control. And just like that, the room shifts. People may not remember the words that were said, but they'll remember how you handled it. That's your new advantage. Emotional intelligence equals strategic dominance in high-performance environments. Whether it's the military, elite sports, or high-stakes negotiations, there's one rule: he who stays calm wins. Why? Because emotions blur vision, fear shrinks opportunity, pride blinds reason. But when you're emotionally grounded, you see what others miss. You detect weakness before it surfaces. You sense conflict before it erupts. And most importantly, you become impossible to manipulate. Storytime, the unbothered general. There's an old story about a general whose camp was ambushed. Everyone panicked. Chaos, screaming, soldiers running in every direction. But the general, he sat silently, boiling tea. His officers rushed in, yelling, "We're under attack." He calmly replied, "I make better decisions with a clear mind and warm hands." Later, when the enemy made their move, he led a flawless counterattack. Not because he reacted fast, but because he waited until the storm passed inside, before confronting the storm outside. That wasn't detachment. That was domination through emotional regulation. The manipulator's nightmare. You stay calm. Let's be honest. Some people don't want to help you. They just want to provoke you. They feed off your reaction. They throw jabs, poke your insecurities, twist the truth to enrage you. And when you lash out, they smile. You just danced to their rhythm. But if you don't flinch, if you stay calm, look them in the eye and say nothing, they feel powerless, because your silence says, "You don't control me, not anymore." That's how you reclaim your space, your peace, and your power. Practical mastery. How to control emotions in real time. Label it. This is anger, this is fear, this is ego. Naming it separates you from it. Delay response. Insert time before action. Even 10 seconds can change the entire outcome. Control your breath. Your breathing controls your nervous system. Slow breath equals clear mind. Shift perspective. Ask, will this matter in 5 days, 5 months, 5 years? Usually it won't. Speak low and slow. Never raise your voice. The most dangerous minds don't scream. They whisper final thought. Emotional control is not weakness. It's superiority. Don't confuse stillness with softness. A Stoic doesn't scream back, not because they're afraid, but because they're too powerful to be provoked. While others are enslaved by their emotions, you become something else. Entirely a fortress, not cold, but composed. Not numb, but wise. Not reactive, but intentional. Because in every arena, whether it's the boardroom, the battlefield, or the quiet politics of everyday life, the one who wins is not the one who feels the most. It's the one who uses those feelings as fuel, not as a leash. Let them rage. Let them spiral. Let them destroy themselves, trying to dominate through noise. You'll win in silence. Because the calmest one in the room always ends up in control. You don't need to announce your plans. You don't need to explain your every move. And you certainly don't need applause for progress no one sees. Why? Because the most dangerous power is the one no one sees coming. In a world obsessed with oversharing, your silence becomes your strategy. Your invisibility becomes your weapon. Visibility is a double-edged sword. Every time you broadcast your next move, you invite envy, you attract noise, you awaken resistance before you're ready to face it. But when you move in silence, no one can stop what they don't see. The Stoics knew this deeply. They lived it. Marcus Aurelius didn't need validation. He didn't perform for crowds. He wrote his deepest insights in private journals because he understood the truth. The most powerful transformations don't happen on stage. They happen in the shadows. They begin when you pull away from shallow praise, from mindless scrolling, from people who don't deserve access to your evolution. And when you're invisible, you're untouchable. That's when the element of surprise becomes your greatest weapon. Let's get tactical for a moment. Whether you're playing chess or navigating power dynamics in business or relationships, the most underestimated force is silence. Because people can't defend what they don't see. When you stay quiet about your growth, your ambitions, your next strategic move, You rob the opposition of any chance to block you. By the time they realize what you've become, it's already over. That's not luck. That's preparation. That's what separates true operators from amateurs. Amateurs perform. Professionals prepare quietly. Welcome to the gray zone. It's not sexy. It's not loud. There are no likes, no followers, no cheering fans. There's just you, your work, and your unwavering focus. You turn inward, you cut off distractions, and you build in the dark, day after day after day. This is the place where real weapons are made. While others are busy competing for attention, you're crafting tools they've never seen. By the time you surface, it's too late for them to react. Real-world picture, the quiet rise of a lion. Imagine this: you're in a workplace where everyone is loud, posturing, bragging, fighting to be seen. But you stay in the background. You observe the system. You study the power structures. You quietly build your skill set. You watch where others show weakness. You don't ask for praise. You don't expose your ambition. And then one day, the right opportunity appears, and you strike. Not emotionally, not impulsively, but surgically, the reaction. Where did this come from? And that is the point. They were watching the wrong people the whole time. Your silence will confuse the weak. People need constant validation. They panic when it's quiet. They fear not being seen. They measure their worth by the attention they receive. But your silence, it's not weakness. It's discipline. It means you're not here to impress. You're here to execute every day. You stay silent about your moves. You sharpen the blade. Every time you resist the urge to overshare, you train your focus until one day you become the ghost in the game. Unseen, unpredictable, unstoppable. Modern Stoicism, strategic invisibility. The modern Stoic doesn't announce his strength. He doesn't beg to be liked. He doesn't chase attention. He stands firmly in one quiet truth. If they don't see it coming, they can't stop it. The more you speak, the more you expose. The more you show, the more they can aim at. In today's world where attention is currency, modern Stoicism isn't just about staying calm. It's about camouflage. It's about moving without ego, mastering yourself in secret, becoming so powerful that you no longer feel the need to prove it. Tactic: leave no clues. Let's get tactical. How do you become invisible in a world addicted to visibility? 1. Keep your goals private. Don't announce, execute. Not because you're hiding, but because you're calculating. Silence protects your momentum. Point 2. Withdraw. Emotionally, no reaction, no defense, no explanation. Let them wonder, keep them guessing. 3. Build in isolation. Grow without applause. Transform where no one is watching. 4. Play dumb when needed. Don't show your full hand. Let them underestimate you. It's one of the greatest weapons in the psychological arsenal. 5. Detach from validation. The less you crave to be seen, the more powerful you become. Psychological warfare, the art of being unreaded, is power. If people can't read your next move, they can't prepare for it. If they can't read your emotions, they can't control you. And if they can't figure out what drives you, they'll never be able to block your path. The Stoic warrior isn't unreadable because he hides. He's unreadable because he's free from the need to be understood. His silence, it's not passive, it's precise. Final thought: let your victory be the first time they notice you. By the time they ask, how did you do it? By the time they try to imitate your strategy, it's already too late. You've outgrown their games, you've outpaced their tactics. You've become untouchable, and every inch of it was built in the dark. So stay low, move smart, say nothing, let them think you've disappeared. Let them believe you've fallen off, then rise like thunder from a storm they never saw coming, in a room full of egos trying to prove their worth. The most intelligent player is often the one who doesn't look like a threat. He plays dumb. He praises others. He hides the dagger behind a disarming smile, because true power doesn't need to be seen to be real. It's quiet, it's patient, and it's deadly effective. Visibility is a double-edged sword. When you broadcast every move, you invite jealousy, criticism, even sabotage. When you speak too soon, you awaken resistance before you have the strength to overcome it. There's an ancient law of power bruta, but true, never outshine the master. Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power. You may believe excellence is always rewarded, but in reality, when you shine too brightly, you don't receive admiration. You provoke insecurity. Even your boss, your partner, your best friend can feel threatened if your light casts too deep a shadow on theirs. And when that happens, they don't thank you. They whisper behind your back, "Who do you think you are?" The Stoic response, outsmart, don't outshine. The Stoic doesn't chase the spotlight. He doesn't feed on applause, ego, or recognition. He reads the room. He senses emotional temperatures. He adapts like water, quiet but unstoppable. He plays small while preparing big. He acts humble while calculating everything. This isn't deception, it's psychological aikido. Let others feel superior while you sharpen the blade in silence. Real-world example. The strategist in the shadows. Picture this. You're working in a team. One person dominates every meeting, steals credit, interrupts, treats silence as submission. Most people either challenge them loudly or shrink away quietly, but not you. You smile, you compliment them, you allow them to feel important. You offer ideas, subtly planting seeds, and let them present those ideas publicly. And then, one day, they fall, and everyone turns to you, finally realizing who was truly in control the entire time. The rule of the quiet assassin. The sharpest operators follow a silent, three-phase strategy. Phase 1, read the power dynamics. Understand who's insecure. Notice who's watching. Identify who needs to feel superior. You don't jump to react, you observe, like a chess player who studies the entire board, not just the next move. Phase 2, strategically dim your light. Don't showcase all your talents at once. Hold back from correcting someone unless it serves a greater purpose. Don't always be the loudest or the first to speak. You know that sometimes the most powerful move is to step back. Phase 3, build behind the curtain. Cultivate relationships that matter. Accumulate wisdom quietly. Sharpen your edge without needing recognition. So when the stage clears and the spotlight finally moves, you step forward, calm, focused, ready. Why most people fail at this rule? They crave validation too early. They can't stand being underestimated. They respond to every slight, every dismissive glance. They always want to prove they're right. But power doesn't work like that. Power is heat. The more you show it, the easier you are to measure. The louder you are, the easier you are to target. The more you flex, the quicker they'll try to shut you down. True Stoic dominance doesn't demand the spotlight, it prefers the shadows. Not because it's afraid, but because stealth is a strategy. Let others shine so bright they burn out. Let them exhaust themselves, proving something to the world. While they chase attention, you chase understanding. While they perform, you position. And when they collapse due to pride, burnout, or exposure, you step in, not with noise, but with precision. Not with flair, but with full preparation. No one will call it luck. They'll call you what you are. The only one left standing. Self-mastery over ego, the biggest obstacle to this strategy. Your own ego. When you're underestimated, your pride wants to fight back. When someone steals your idea, your ego screams for justice. When someone speaks louder, your instinct is to silence them. But the Stoic doesn't need to win every moment. He's playing to win the entire war. Every time you resist the urge to prove something, you invest in your own quiet invincibility. Psychological mastery. Don't be a threat. Be the solution. People block threats, but they promote those who help them feel safe. So don't be the competition. Be the complement. Make your leaders feel secure. Make others feel important. Not because you lack value, but because you understand where true value lies. This is how you slip through defenses and outmaneuver everyone without ever having to outshine them. Final reminder, you don't win by being seen. You win by being remembered. Applause fades, but influence remains. Don't aim to be the loudest in the room. Be the most strategic. Don't show them your worth. Let them realize it when it's too late to compete, so sit back. Let them take the microphone. Let them grab the attention, the credit, the spotlight. Because when the noise dies down and the real players rise, you won't just be visible, you'll be unforgettable. You were never meant to play small. Not in your career, not in your relationships, not in your life. You were meant to dominate quietly, to influence without noise, to win without needing to shout that you've won. The 7 Stoic rules you've just learned aren't tactics. They're a way of life, a mindset for those who are done explaining themselves, a code for those who refuse to be manipulated, a weapon for those who are tired of losing to louder, weaker voices. Remember, the loudest one in the room is usually the weakest. The one who craves power the most never truly has it. And the one who plays the long game always wins in the end. You don't need to shout to be noticed. You don't need to prove yourself to be respected. Because after everything you've just learned, one truth stands tall. Real power never asks for permission. It simply shows up, so stop begging for respect. Don't wait for their approval. Instead, live with calm, precision, quiet strength, and ruthless strategy. Let every move you make reflect your discipline. Let your actions speak so clearly that words become unnecessary. Outthink them, outlast them, and when the moment is right, outplay them. You don't need to fight for recognition, because when they finally ask, "How did you do it?" you'll just smile. No explanations, no justifications, because the strongest ones don't speak, they execute. If this video woke something up inside you, if you're done playing nice in a world built on quiet manipulation and strategy, then this is your moment. Subscribe to Life Through Stoicism. Here, we don't just talk about mindset, we forge it into a weapon. Share this video with someone who's stuck in emotional reactivity and needs to learn how to take control. And in the comments, tell me, which of the 7 Stoic rules will you master first? Will it be the rule of silence, patience, strategic invisibility, or emotional control? This isn't motivation. This is mental warfare. And now, you're armed.